This is not how I wanted the world to meet my son, but here we are. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow.
3 in the afternoon, the 4th of July, the north end of Horn Island, packed with boats, music, and holiday crowds. An 18-year-old stands near the northwest end of the island, shirtless, blue swim trunks, black sunglasses, talking to a girl. Nothing about it looked wrong. Nothing about it looked like an ending. But it was. That conversation is the last confirmed moment Nolan Wells was seen alive. 2 days later, a park ranger found his body in the water just off that same stretch of island. And ever since, one question has burned through every comment section following this case. Who was the girl? Tonight, you're going to get the answer. Her name, her family's statement, what she says Nolan told her in the final seconds before they parted ways. But here's what nobody warned you about. Her answer doesn't close this case, it cracks it wide open. Because what she says Nolan said, and what the boys on that boat say Nolan said, cannot both be true. Someone is wrong about the last known sentence of Nolan Wells' life. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why that single sentence has become the center of a national investigation.
A few days since Mississippi teen Nolan Wells was found dead off the coast of Mississippi, and we still don't know how he died. Now his family is determined to get the answers themselves.
If you've been tracking this story since the search began, you already know the outline. So we won't rebuild it brick by brick. We'll move fast, because the new developments are what matter. Nolan Xavier Wells, 18 years old, Ocean Springs, Mississippi. A wide receiver who tore up Friday nights for the Greyhounds, then earned his spot at Southwest Mississippi Community College. Days away from reporting to summer camp. A whole career waiting on the other side of one holiday weekend. And the night before that weekend, he was home. On July 3rd, Nolan cooked his parents a baked salmon dinner after his mom had a long day at work. Then he stayed over at a friend's house. That was his last night under his family's roof. A kid cooking dinner for his mother. The next morning, he boarded a boat with his high school friends, bound for Horn Island, an undeveloped barrier island south of Ocean Springs, reachable only by private boat, with no facilities, no drinking water, no staff, no lifeguards, no way home except the boat that brought you. By early afternoon, the beach was crowded. Somewhere on that sand, Nolan crossed paths with his best friend, Javon Williams, who had made his own way out to the island. They talked, and before Nolan walked away, he said 3 words, "I love you." Javon had no reason to think about them twice, not then, because a short while later, Nolan was standing at the water's edge, talking to a girl. Here is what the record actually says. In a video posted during the search, United Cajun Navy Incident Commander Josh Gill said Nolan had gone out to Horn Island with friends on a boat and was last seen talking to a girl on the north end. According to Gill, Nolan's friends recalled seeing him speak with the young lady shortly before he became separated from his friend's group and from his cell phone. Hold on to that phone detail. It comes back. And when it does, it changes everything. Now, the departure. This part comes from a very specific source. Ashley Cole is a Jackson County Chancery Court judge and the mother of Warren, one of the boys on that trip. In a public Facebook post, she said her son last saw Nolan around 3 p.m. She said the group left around 4:30 because the boat was taking on water and they had a problem with the bilge pump. And she said Nolan made a decision to stay on the island, planning to return to the mainland later with another group of friends. That is the boy's account. One account. Remember it exactly as stated, because in a few minutes, you're going to hear the other one. That night, the alarm was raised twice. One of the friends from the boat was actually the first to report Nolan missing, contacting the Coast Guard around 11 p.m. Separately, Nolan's mother contacted the sheriff's office around midnight. 2 calls, same night, same missing boy, and one more fact, stated without comment. For now. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office did not request Coast Guard assistance until around noon the following day. File that away. The search itself, you know. The Coast Guard, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the National Park Service, the Cajun Navy with boats, aircraft, and drones. 2 days of helicopters tracing patterns over a 10-mile stretch of open water, and ground teams walking dunes that shift under every step. 2 days of nothing. Then, Monday morning, July 6th. At 8:45 a.m., a U.S. Park Ranger discovered a body in the water at the northwestern tip of Horn Island, the same end of the island where Nolan had last been seen. Almost the same spot. Dental records confirmed it. The body was Nolan Wells. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn told reporters. His mother, Christine Wansley, confirmed her son's death that same day. Her words to the world, "Nolan was a special soul. God took his time creating our son." The search was over. The questions were just beginning, and the loudest question of all was the one this video promised to answer. Her name is Katie. That's it. That's what the public record holds. A first name, nothing more. Nothing else about her has been confirmed. Reports say she and Nolan were hanging out that afternoon, but it isn't even clear whether she was someone he knew or someone he'd just met. And here's the part that surprised a lot of people following this case. She didn't hide. Her family came forward on their own. Katie's mother, Gracie McCormick, confirmed on social media that her daughter did spend time with Nolan on Horn Island that day. She said the two parted ways before he went missing, and that Katie has no knowledge of what happened to him afterward. So let's be direct about something, because this case has already shown us what happens when the internet decides someone is guilty. Katie is a witness. Nothing in the public record, not one report, not one official statement, suggests investigators view her as anything else. No suspects have been named in this case. Not her, not anyone. And we've already watched this story hurt people. Judge Ashley Cole went public saying she feared for the safety of her 6 children after their photographs were circulated across the internet. This community has been through enough. We're not adding to it. So if Katie is just a witness, why does she matter so much? Because of what she says Nolan told her, and because of who disagrees. From the beginning, the official framing was simple. Sheriff John Ledbetter told ABC News that Nolan's friends left and went back without him, and that, from the department's understanding, he chose to stay there. He chose to stay. 4 words that shaped everything: the search, the coverage, the public's entire mental picture of what happened. But then Katie's account surfaced, and it says something different. According to her side's statement, when their conversation ended, Nolan told her he was going back to the boat. Read that again. The boys say Nolan chose to stay behind. The girl he was talking to says he told her he was heading back to them. Attorney Ben Crump, now representing the Wells family, put the collision on national television. On CBS Mornings, he laid it out. The friends say Nolan was talking to a young lady, and she says he told her he was getting back on the boat with the boys. The boys say he told them no, he was staying with her. Crump's question was blunt. I mean, which is it? Which is it? 2 groups of witnesses, 1 sentence, 2 opposite versions, and both versions conveniently point away from the person telling them. She says he was going back to them. They say he was staying with her. Somebody's memory is wrong, or somebody's account is. And that is the real answer to the question in this title. The girl was never the mystery. The mystery is the sentence Nolan said as he walked away from her. Because 8 days later, nobody can agree on what it was. But the contradiction doesn't stand alone. It sits inside a pattern, and the pattern is why this case exploded.
We're going to work this investigation thoroughly and professionally and provide updated results as soon as we can put them out.
Remember what Josh Gill said. Nolan became separated from his friends and from his phone. Here's where that phone ended up. Christine Wansley tracked her son's phone using and found it on land. At the house of one of the friends who had been on the boat with him, she said the phone was with one of the friends who had returned from the island, and the family went and retrieved it. Now think about the boy's account. Nolan chose to stay on a remote island. No cell service in spots, no facilities, no way off except a boat, and did it without his phone? Crump asked the obvious question, what teenager voluntarily stays behind on an island and leaves the phone? And it gets heavier. Christine believes Snapchat messages were deleted from her son's phone because when the family got it back, there were no photos or videos on the account from a day her son would normally have documented. To be precise, that is the family's belief, not an established fact. Investigators haven't confirmed it, but a boy who filmed his life on the biggest party day of the summer with nothing saved from that day at all, his mother finds that impossible to accept. There's a video. You may have seen clips of it. Arguing can be heard in the background, and for a while, it was dismissed as unrelated beach noise. Not anymore. Sheriff Ledbetter told CBS News investigators are trying to identify the original poster of that video, and Crump's independent team is analyzing whether a voice heard arguing with someone about taking his cell phone is Nolan's voice. A voice arguing about a phone. The same phone that ended up back on the mainland at a friend's house, and the sheriff's office itself has widened the net. Investigators publicly asked for original, unedited photos and videos from the northwest tip of Horn Island, particularly those depicting alleged altercations, or believed to include Nolan Wells. They asked anyone who observed or heard an argument, disturbance, or unusual activity on the island that day to come forward. Read those words carefully. Alleged altercations? That request came from law enforcement, not from the family, not from the internet. Now, cash in the detail we planted earlier. A friend of Nolan's called the Coast Guard around 11 p.m. on July 4th. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office did not request Coast Guard assistance until around noon the next day, roughly 13 hours. In a water search, hours are everything. Currents move, evidence drifts, windows close. Why the gap? That question has not been publicly answered. It sits there unresolved, alongside everything else. And underneath all of it, there's the objection Nolan's parents keep returning to. They simply do not believe the story is told. They don't believe he chose to stay behind. That's not his character. His father, Elmore, said he raised his son on one rule. If you go with a group, you stay with the group. And they're not accepting an accidental drowning either, because his father says Nolan could swim. When law enforcement told the family it was most likely an accidental drowning, Christine's response was pointed, "Why are we so quick to rush to this?" For balance, because the truth needs it, the water itself deserves respect here. A Cajun Navy searcher described the northwest tip of Horn Island as deceptive ground, where you can go from about 3 feet of water to 20 feet within a few steps. And drowning experts note it can be fast, silent, and nothing like people expect. Strong swimmers drown. It happens. The family knows that. They're just not willing to assume it. Not with this many contradictions still standing. So here is the honest state of play. As of this recording, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office is investigating this as a death, not a homicide. The state autopsy was conducted on July 7th, but the medical examiner hasn't released a final report because she's waiting on toxicology. The family isn't waiting. They had Nolan's body flown from Mississippi to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy, performed by a doctor with no ties to Mississippi law enforcement. Those results were expected Friday, but were delayed by canceled flights. Crump says they'll be announced the moment his team has them. Former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick contributed funding for that independent autopsy. Tyler Perry is helping cover funeral costs. On Friday, July 10th, Nolan's parents stood at a press conference in New York alongside Ben Crump and the Reverend Al Sharpton. Sharpton, who will officiate Nolan's funeral, put the racial dimension of this case into one careful sentence. We're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either. Because yes, that dimension is real. Nolan was the only black member of the group on that boat, in Mississippi. And for millions watching, that context is inseparable from the demand for transparency. As for the boys on the trip, Crump says his team hasn't spoken with them yet, but they now have attorneys, and his team plans to reach out soon. That detail lit up social media, but hold both truths at once. Sheriff Ledbetter says the friends are cooperating with the investigation, and getting a lawyer in a case with national cameras on it is what almost any family would do. It proves nothing by itself. The support for Nolan's family, meanwhile, has been staggering. The GoFundMe passed $380,000 as of Friday. And through all of it, Christine Wansley is still teaching people who her son was. After a small protest in Ocean Springs, she pleaded for calm, reminding everyone that Nolan didn't like fights, didn't even like arguments, and asking that anything done in his name stay peaceful and respectful. A peacemaker, even now, even in this. So, who was the girl? A witness named Katie, a stranger on a beach whose family came forward on their own. Not a suspect, not a villain, but the last person we know Nolan spoke to, and the person whose account turned he chose to stay from a settled fact into an open question. The independent autopsy results are expected any day now. When they land, whatever they say, this case changes again, and we'll be here when it does. This video was made while the investigation is active. No official cause of death has been released. No suspects have been named. Toxicology is pending. Some of what you heard tonight comes from competing accounts that investigators have not resolved, and some details may change as facts emerge. Everyone mentioned in this video is presumed innocent of any wrongdoing, and nothing here should be taken as an accusation against any person. If you were on or near Horn Island on July 4th and have first-hand information, original photos, unedited video, or a direct account, contact the Jackson County Sheriff's Office Criminal Investigations Division. Even something that seems small could matter. If this channel has earned a place in your routine, please subscribe. It's free, and it genuinely helps us keep following cases like this one until the answers come. Drop your location in the comments. We read every single one. And tonight, hold your people close. Tell them what Nolan told Javon on that beach. Because you never know which words will be the ones that last.